Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
What if everything you have ever spent on fertilizer has been completely unnecessary? What if the single most powerful thing you could do for your garden this weekend costs less than a cup of coffee and is already sitting on a shelf at your local grocery store, right between the brown sugar and the corn syrup, completely ignored by almost every gardener in America? Welcome to the Smart Gardener. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because every week we uncover the gardening secrets that nobody else is talking about. Here is the truth. Millions of American gardeners spend $30 to $40 every single season on bags of synthetic fertilizer. Meanwhile, a $5 bottle of one forgotten kitchen ingredient has been quietly sitting in the baking aisle, waiting to transform your soil in ways that no plastic bag of chemicals ever could. Today, we are going to change that. By the end of this video, you will have the exact recipe, the real science, a seasonal application calendar built specifically for American gardens, and a simple 3-step soil test that tells you whether the magic is already working underground. Stay with me because what you are about to learn has been buried for over a century, and your garden has been waiting for it the whole time. To understand why this ingredient works so powerfully in your garden, you need to go back to where it came from, because the origin story of blackstrap molasses is just as remarkable as the science behind it. The story does not begin in a laboratory. It does not begin in a fertilizer factory. It begins in the sugarcane fields of the Caribbean and the Mississippi Delta in the 1800s, where farmers discovered something that the modern gardening industry has spent decades trying to make you forget. When sugarcane juice is boiled down to extract crystallized sugar, each successive boiling produces a darker, thicker, more mineral-dense syrup. The first boiling gives you light molasses, the kind most Americans put on their pancakes without a second thought. The second boiling gives you dark molasses. And the third and final boiling produces blackstrap, the thick, almost bitter, nearly black syrup left behind after every last grain of usable sugar has been pulled out of the cane. For the sugar industry, blackstrap was a waste product they simply wanted to get rid of. But for the farmers who paid close attention, it was liquid gold. They passed this knowledge quietly from generation to generation, building richer, healthier soil, season after season, without spending a single dollar on synthetic inputs. Then synthetic fertilizer arrived in the 1950s, backed by enormous marketing budgets and the promise of instant results. And within a single generation, that entire tradition was completely erased from American gardening culture. Gone, as if it had never existed. Now here is where it gets genuinely interesting. And this is the part that will change how you think about everything sitting in your kitchen pantry right now. Every single tablespoon of blackstrap molasses contains roughly 400 milligrams of potassium, 40 milligrams of calcium, 48 milligrams of magnesium, nearly 1 milligram of iron, plus measurable amounts of manganese, copper, selenium, sulfur, and phosphate. Those are not trace amounts. Those are mineral concentrations that compete directly with the profiles found in commercial fertilizer products sold at garden centers across America. And here is the reason why that mineral profile is so unusually complete. Sugarcane is a tropical grass that can grow 15 to 20 feet tall, and it pulls minerals from deep subsoil layers that the roots of most common garden plants can never reach on their own. When you buy a bottle of blackstrap molasses at your local grocery store, you are essentially buying the concentrated mineral extract of one of the most aggressive nutrient mining plants on the face of the earth. That is why 1 tablespoon delivers more bioavailable potassium than several tablespoons of most synthetic potassium products sitting on garden center shelves. And it delivers that potassium alongside a complete list of trace minerals that no synthetic product on the market even bothers to include. Now let us talk about what actually happens beneath your feet, the moment that molasses solution soaks into the ground. Because this is where the real magic lives. And this is the science that no synthetic fertilizer on the market can ever replicate. Most gardeners spend their entire lives looking at what is happening above the soil. The smartest gardeners learn to think about what is happening below it. When 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses dissolves in 1 gallon of water and you pour it onto your garden bed, it acts like ringing a dinner bell for every beneficial microorganism living in the top 6 inches of soil. Bacteria, yeasts, beneficial fungi, and protozoa all recognize the sugars and minerals in molasses as a feast, and they respond by multiplying explosively within hours. Beneficial bacteria strains including Bacillus and Pseudomonas, which are the same strains responsible for breaking down organic matter and protecting roots from disease, can divide every 20 minutes under ideal conditions. Within just one day of a single application, the microbial population in your root zone can triple. Within 3 days, that population can reach 6 to 10 times the level found in untreated soil. And published research documents that this heightened microbial activity lasts 4 to 5 full weeks from just one application. Think about that for a moment. 1 tablespoon, 1 gallon of water, 4 to 5 weeks of biological activity working around the clock for your plants. 3 powerful things happen simultaneously during that entire period. The multiplying microbes break down organic matter already in your soil into plant-available nutrients far faster than soil could do on its own. They also produce natural lactic acids and other compounds that unlock minerals chemically trapped inside clay particles, releasing them directly into solution where roots can absorb them immediately. And the thriving beneficial population simply outcompetes harmful pathogenic bacteria for space and resources, creating a soil environment where plant disease struggles to gain any foothold at all. But here is the deeper layer of science that almost no gardening channel ever talks about, and understanding it will make you a genuinely smarter gardener than 90% of the people watching gardening content online right now. Beneath your soil, there exists an invisible network of mycorrhizal fungi, thread-like structures thinner than a human hair that connect plant roots to nutrient sources far deeper than roots can ever reach on their own. Research shows that plants can obtain up to 80% of their phosphorus through these fungal networks alone. Blackstrap molasses provides the carbohydrates that feed and sustain that entire underground system, essentially powering 2 biological engines at the same time. However, there is one critical warning for anyone growing fruit trees or woody perennials, and this is something you will not hear on most gardening channels. Applying molasses too frequently can cause bacterial populations to dominate and overwhelm the fungal community, disrupting the very mycorrhizal network that your fruit trees depend on for long-term survival and productivity. Every 2 to 3 weeks is the right rhythm. More than that, and you are quietly working against your own garden without ever realizing it. Now let us get into the part you came here for. The exact recipe, step by step, and the seasonal application calendar that most gardening videos never bother to give you. Pay close attention here, because the details matter more than most people realize. The recipe itself is beautifully simple, and that simplicity is part of what makes it so powerful. You need 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses. Not regular table molasses, not light molasses, not corn syrup. Specifically the dark, thick, almost bitter blackstrap version that comes from the 3rd and final boiling of sugarcane. You will find it in the baking aisle of any grocery store in America, usually sitting quietly between the brown sugar and the corn syrup, almost never touched by gardeners walking right past it every single week. For your water, use 1 full gallon. If your tap water is heavily chlorinated, let it sit out in an open container for 24 hours before mixing, or use collected rainwater, because chlorine will actively kill the very microorganisms you are trying to feed and nurture. You can also add 1 teaspoon of plain dish soap, avoiding anything antibacterial or heavily fragranced. The soap acts as a surfactant that helps the solution spread evenly across the soil surface and penetrate quickly down to the root zone instead of beating up and running off the surface entirely. To mix it correctly, start by dissolving the molasses in a small amount of warm water first. Molasses is thick and sticky and will simply not dissolve properly in cold water. Stir it vigorously until you have a smooth, dark liquid with no clumps remaining. Then fill the rest of your container with cool water to reach 1 full gallon. Add the optional soap and stir gently to combine. Apply the finished solution as a soil drench directly around the base of your plants, soaking the root zone thoroughly and completely. Do not splash the liquid onto leaves because the sugar content will attract ants and unwanted insects to the foliage. Keep this application in the soil where it belongs. 1 gallon of finished solution treats between 12 and 20 mature plants depending on their individual size. Now here is the seasonal calendar that no other gardening video has ever laid out clearly and completely for American gardens, and this part alone is worth every minute you have spent watching today. Early spring is your single most critical application window of the entire year. This is when soil microbes are just beginning to wake up from their long winter dormancy, and a single well-timed dose of molasses gives them a powerful running start that sets the biological foundation for everything your garden will accomplish in the months ahead. In late spring moving into early summer, a second application helps your plants build the internal resilience and cellular strength they need to survive the stress of summer heat without faltering. Then early fall becomes your second must-apply window, and this one is just as important as the first. As temperatures begin to drop and plants start storing carbohydrates down into their root systems to prepare for winter, a molasses application at exactly this moment supercharges that process and sends your plants into winter dormancy stronger, healthier, and far better prepared than they would ever be otherwise. And during winter, you stop entirely. When soil temperatures fall below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, microbial activity slows to nearly nothing, and applying molasses at that point delivers almost no measurable benefit to your garden. During the active growing season, the right rhythm is once every 2 to 3 weeks, no more than that, because the soil biology genuinely needs time to stabilize and find its balance between each feeding cycle. So how do you know if any of this is actually working? This is the part that separates a smart gardener from everyone else. And these are 3 simple soil signals that will tell you exactly what is happening underground before you ever see a single change above the surface. The first signal is the 15-second water test. Pour 1 cup of water onto 1 square foot of bare soil. If that water absorbs completely within 15 seconds, your soil biology is active and healthy. If it takes longer than 60 seconds, or the water simply pools and runs off, your soil is compacted and biologically depleted, and molasses is exactly what it needs. The second signal is earthworm activity. Dig a block of soil about 6 inches deep and count the worms you find. 5 or more worms in that single block is an excellent sign. After 4 consistent weeks of molasses applications, you should notice the number of worm castings on your soil surface doubling, which tells you the entire underground food web is responding exactly the way it should. The third signal is the smell of your soil after watering. Healthy, biologically active soil smells clean and earthy after rain, like a forest floor after a summer storm. If your soil starts smelling sour or unpleasant after a molasses application, that is your signal to back off immediately, reduce your frequency, and give the biology time to rebalance. Now, if you want to take everything one step further, here is the most advanced version of this technique. Add 2 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses to 5 gallons of actively aerated compost water. Let it brew with steady aeration for 24 to 36 hours. Then apply it immediately to your garden beds. What you are creating is not just fertilizer. You are creating a living biological inoculant, teeming with billions of beneficial microorganisms that will colonize your root zone within hours. The total cost of this advanced brew is under $10, and nothing sold in a garden center comes close to matching its biological impact. Here is what we want you to walk away with today. Blackstrap molasses feeds the invisible workforce already living in your soil. The right dilution is 1 tablespoon per gallon of dechlorinated water. Apply it once every 2 to 3 weeks during your active growing season. Follow the seasonal calendar we laid out, read your soil signals, and let the biology do the rest. If this changed the way you think about what is already in your pantry, drop a comment below and tell us what you are going to try first. Your experience helps this entire community grow smarter together. If you have not subscribed to The Smart Gardener yet, now is the right time. We uncover the gardening knowledge that generations before us figured out the hard way, so you do not have to. The best garden you have ever grown is not ahead of you. It is already underneath you, just waiting to wake up.